We live in a world where freedom is a birthright. Democracy isn't just a word. It is something that ensures the way that we live and interact with each other. But what really drives this world? Is it a democracy? Let's be realistic. The answer is money.
Simply flooded the system with money.
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally. So we as a central bank, we have the ability to create money digitally, and we do that by buying treasury bills or bonds or other government guaranteed securities, and that actually increases the money supply. We also print actual currency, and we distribute that through the Federal Reserve banks.
We're sitting at a historical crossroads where the future of money is going to be digital. We're seeing a concerted effort around the world to ban cash, to reduce the availability, the value, and the liquidity of cash everywhere in the world. We just saw India demonetize the top 2 value notes they have. Spain is passing a law to make it illegal to make any transaction more than 1,000 euros in cash. Probably the 500 euro, 100 euro notes are going to disappear eventually. You're seeing this process of demonetization, of removing cash from the economy in order to funnel it all into banking systems that are under constant control and surveillance. This is a very dangerous future.
And that's usually because they want the taxation or they want the legislation. Either they see that money used by corrupt parties or they just use that as an excuse to control it.
The biggest criminals in the world have banking licenses of their own. They don't need to money launder. They own HSBC and that money launders for them. The biggest money launderers in the world are the banks, obviously, because that's where the money is. The easiest way to money launder is if you have a banking license. So of course, the biggest money launderers have banking licenses. These are excuses. What they want to do, of course, is, they say, taxation and corruption, but in fact, this actually increases corruption. So removing cash from an economy and putting everybody under surveillance doesn't mean that criminals can't use money anymore. Of course they can. They will continue to do that. They will always have means of doing it. It just means that everybody else is under surveillance. So you end up surveilling the innocent. And what does that give you? That gives you political control. This is a very dangerous road we're going down. We've never had in the history of humanity the ability to monitor everybody's economic activity all the time. And to give that power to governments without question is extremely dangerous. It won't result in reducing terrorism, but it will turn several governments into terrorists themselves. It won't reduce crime, but it will turn governments into criminals. It won't reduce corruption, but it will increase corruption at banks. And it will put people at the mercy of a system in which, at a flick of a binary switch, you can become a non-person. Went to the wrong website, attended the wrong protests, associated with the wrong political party, expressed support for the wrong idea, off. You no longer exist. You can't buy food, you can't buy anything, you can't earn anything, and all of your money disappeared.
Because we don't give you a bank account.
No, you turn off the bank account.
Oh, okay.
Why not?
Okay.
And you don't give you a bank account, right? So,
and since you can't use cash for anything, then you basically are a non-citizen.
You are a non-person.
Right.
And what this will end up doing is it will end up putting the burden, again, on the most powerless in our society, right? The poor, those who don't have ID, undocumented immigrants, victims of human trafficking, refugees. These people are going to be suffering the burden to create this bourgeois illusion of safety and give massive powers to governments that certainly haven't earned the trust to have these kinds of powers. That's scenario A. Scenario B is a world in which we have a fully connected economy using a form of currency that is neutral, transparent, global, and open, belonging to everyone, requiring no qualification to enter or access the system, and not under the control of any government or bank. That's what Bitcoin offers. And so you can make that choice once they flip the switch on you, or you can start now. And you can change the trajectory of this world by opting out from a system of totalitarian surveillance. There is no reason why we should accept or believe in totalitarian surveillance of finance by governments. They will not use this to protect us. And maybe here in the UK or in the US, you have kind of the privilege of believing in the illusion that your government is going to protect you if you give them those powers. The UK just handed the UK government the most draconian surveillance powers in the history of modern world with this Snoop's charter, right? And with barely any dissent whatsoever. So no dissent was heard now. Well, no dissent is possible now. Try, see what happens. And this is a very dangerous path to go under. And people in countries that have already experienced totalitarian regimes know this, right? They know they can't trust government.
In the intro to this video, Jerome Powell, who is the Fed chairman of the Federal Reserve, is speaking about the printing of money very nonchalantly, as if this isn't the very essence of what has brought our monetary system to its knees. It's only a matter of time before interest rates explode upwards, and all of our over-leveraged economies come crashing down. This is a very sobering notion, that what we are doing is not sustainable, and that there has to be a solution. As you hear in the clip with Andreas Antonopolous, who elaborates a little bit more on this, as well as the control the banks and the governments must have over the people, and the fact that in order to maintain this control, central banks all over the world will be issuing central bank digital currencies. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, I've never heard of any of this. The fact is, they've been working on this for years. Having mainstream media sell you this narrative that Bitcoin and other relatable technologies are used solely for criminal activity, when their only goal is to continue their own illicit activities as well as exercise their own control for power over the people. Now, why would central banks be interested in digitizing fiat currencies? Well, it is to maintain power over the monetary system, to create a pseudo-transparent system in which they get to decide who participates and who doesn't. They hide under the guise that these digitized fiat currencies are to provide an easier, faster, and cheaper way for us to transact with each other. But unfortunately, for us, there are much more sinister reasons that are brewing behind the curtain.
Bottom line. I could care less about Bitcoin. I don't know why I said anything about it. The blockchain is a technology, which is a good technology. We actually use it. It will be used for a lot of different things. God bless the blockchain. Cryptocurrencies and digital currencies, I think are also fine. JP Morgan moves $6 trillion around the world every day. We don't do it in cash. It's done digitally. If it can be done digitally with the blockchain, so be it. But it'll still be a dollar cryptocurrency. What I have an issue with is a non-fiat cryptocurrency. Dollar, so crypto, sterling, euro, yen, they're all fine. I don't personally understand the value of something that has no actual value. You all can do whatever you want, and I don't care. Okay?
All right. That sounds definitive. Bitcoin hit a new high today.
I could care less what Bitcoin trades for, how it trades, why it trades, who trades it. If you're stupid enough to buy it, you'll pay the price for it one day. I've also told people that it can trade at $100,000 before it trades to zero. So tulip bulbs traded for $75,000 once, something like that. The only value of a Bitcoin is what the other guy will pay for it. And I think, honestly, I think there's a good chance that Bitcoin, a lot of the buyers out there are up there jazzing it up every day so that maybe you'll buy it too and take them out. And I quite mean that, by the way. These people are very good at manipulating the press these days and getting news out. And so every day, you have CNBC, nonstop Bitcoin. Who cares about Bitcoin? I mean, the world's economy is so big. We move, JP Morgan alone, these companies, $6 trillion. We move all this money. And Bitcoin in total is, all these currencies are $50 billion, maybe $1 billion trades a day. And the other thing I've always made of Bitcoin, governments, and this is not a technological statement, governments are going to crush it one day. Governments like to know where the money is, who has it, and what you're doing with it. And in case you haven't noticed, okay? And governments like to control their currency, like to control their own economy. So China's already put curbs on it. Japan, they say Japan accepted Bitcoin. No, they didn't. What I gathered Japan did was they call it J-coin. It's a yen cryptocurrency. It's not a non-fiat. And there's a big difference. People have said legitimately, okay, it's close to gold. Not really. Gold is limited. And has been around a long time, and is close to a fiat currency. Not really. A fiat currency is where the government says, this is your legal tender, you have to give it and accept it. And there's a central bank. Now, of course, they can misuse it, the central bank, and inflate it. So there is a use case for Bitcoin. If you live in Venezuela, North Korea, or if you're a criminal, great product. I mean that. It's better than cash or deposits in that country, Cuba, But this is the last time I'm ever going to answer a question about Bitcoin because I really don't care.
So you mentioned cryptocurrency, and I know you said you weren't going to talk about Bitcoin anymore, but you're at Stanford. Some of us put all our student loan money into it. And I have to ask you anyway, why do you believe that governments and regulators can't allow the existence of a global currency based on centralized risk?
I become like a spokesman against Bitcoin. I don't care. I don't care about Bitcoin. I could give a shit, to tell you the truth. And I promised myself I wouldn't talk about it. The next day, there are 4 things, really quickly. Blockchain is real. It's technology. It can be public or private. It can be for 5 people. It can be for 5 million. It's going to work. You already use it in a lot of test cases, stuff like that. So we're a supporter. I do worry a little bit about the security. Because, like I said, we move $6 trillion a day, real time, quite efficiently, effectively, and secure. Before you replace that, you got to make sure you can do it right. There are 3 cryptocurrencies, okay? 3 types, 3 separate types. One is ICOs. ICO, and I haven't studied these things, but you're paying for a token that allows you to use a service, which is very different than a currency, but that's what people call cryptocurrencies. And maybe Jim, maybe you've studied some of these ICOs. I have no idea, about some will give you cloud services or some can give you investing services. That's one type. The second type, you can use cryptocurrency for fiat currency. Well, that works because it just uses a different technology to move money around. Basically keep your money digitally anyway, and if you just keep different files in a different way and distributed ledgers, that would work fine. But I've always thought about Bitcoin as a currency and a store of value and a payment mechanism is that governments, and this is my belief, and I may be wrong, I'm not saying you can't go to $100,000, that governments are going to crush it one day for 3 reasons, okay? One is when it's used for terrorist activities, okay? It'll happen, it's a matter of time, it'll go back to a Bitcoin, and then all of a sudden the DOJ, the United States government, all these people in Washington who profess to love technology and novelty of Bitcoin are going to change their mind. Number 2, when a lot of little old ladies lose their money, because the speculative vehicle was allowed to exist by the United States government, and they're going to lose their money and they're going to be pounding, you should have done something about it. And number 3 is the most important, whenever a government forms itself and you go to any country in the world, pull out the currency, look at the date, that fiat currency was formed by that government with the central bank because governments like to control their currency. They like to know who has it, where it's going, why it's going, when it went, etc. And right now, Bitcoin's a novelty. It's $100 billion. And $1 billion a day trades hands. Obviously, mostly speculation, okay? And obviously, there's a real use case. I'm not making this a joke. Venezuela, Cuba, North Korea, criminal, drug money. That'll always be true. So it'll always have a use case that's valuable to someone because it's better in those countries to do something, to have that than to have currency or cash or money in a bank because the governments, they take that too. And if you go to Argentina, they had effectively savings accounts. The government just went in and took it. They just took it. And, of course, everyone took the money out of the bank right after that, and the country basically collapsed. But so that's the reason why. And it's going to get bigger and bigger, and they're going to want to control it. And it's not the same as a fiat currency. A fiat currency, the government says, you must take this as legal tender. and at par, effectively, cash, at par, and it's always worth par. And I don't know why a crypto dollar would ever be something that, a store of value would be worse than a crypto Bitcoin. So, that's my view, and I may be wrong, which I doubt. I've been wrong before, though. So, and if I'm wrong, I also don't care very much. To tell the truth, it'll never affect my life. It's not because they write, the bankers are defending their stuff. That's absolutely untrue. If Bitcoin works and we have to do something with Bitcoin, we'll do that too.
Kind of a win-win there.
Exactly. When the DOJ calls someone up and says that's an illegal currency and it's against the laws of the United States of land, if you do it again, we'll put you in jail, it's over.
So you really
there's no issue. There will be, and this is my personal opinion, there will be no real non-controlled currency in the world. There's no government that's going to put up with it for long. It's kind of cute now. A lot of the senators in Congress will say, I support Silicon Valley innovation. There will be no currency that gets around government controls.
Anybody here want to take an opposite view?
The technology will be used. It may even be used to transport currency, but it will be U.S. dollars.
But digital,
right.
but the right digital currency will be stopped.
Yes.
The man in the videos you just watched speak on Bitcoin and related technologies is Jamie Dimon, who is the CEO for JP Morgan. He, along with all the other corporate clowns, are trying to keep on with the narrative that Bitcoin and other related technologies were for criminals and money laundering. This narrative was extremely prevalent between the years of 2009, which was Bitcoin's inception, to about 2018, but tapering off to where we are today in 2021. Approximately around 2018, rumors about banks and other financial institutions possibly entering the crypto space started to circulate online. So for 9 years, why do they continue with the narrative that Bitcoin and other blockchain technologies were only used nefariously? It was because for all those years, they had their media monkeys telling you Bitcoin, along with the other digital currencies, were used by criminals, that Bitcoin's sole purpose was to enable people to evade taxes and launder money. Why were they telling you this? Well, to keep you away from it, while they were buying it in the background. Not only were they purchasing digital currencies, they were building out infrastructure within their own institutions to buy, sell, and trade these assets to sell them to guess who? You. That's right. Please name for me one of the lords of finance who hasn't announced they are entertaining the idea of offering some sort of crypto service, like custody or the trading of digital assets. I'll wait. This year alone in 2021, BNY Mellon, BlackRock, as well as Goldman Sachs have all announced that they are entering the crypto space this year. These institutions are worth hundreds of billions of dollars. A few are even in the trillions. Did you know that last year, 2020, the Office of the Comptroller that oversees U.S. banks gave them the green light to hold and custody digital assets? I bet you didn't know that, did you? You're not going to hear something like that in the mainstream media. Maybe back in 2009, these institutions did not see where this space was headed, but at some point they did, and they knew the market was going to be huge, possibly even surpassing the gold market, which is at about $8 trillion, and many other markets that currently exist. Let me ask you this. Do you think that Bitcoin, that is worth, at the time of this video, a little over $50,000, won't grow in value? Do you really think that these multi-billion and even trillion-dollar companies, some of the most powerful institutions on the planet, only want Bitcoin's price to hit $50,000 or $60,000? I believe that they will drive the price into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even $500,000. Do your own research and draw your own conclusions. The truth is out there. Thank you for listening.